Ever wonder what the sound of heaven sounds like? Well, American Idol alum Danny Gokey thinks he may have an idea.
I think people get it wrong. I think heaven is this place where you get your harp and you get on the cloud and, dude, they have no idea. Heaven is a party and it's reflected on the album and everyone's invited to this party.
And I'm David Sams. This is CIA, Contagious Influencers of America. I've got three-time Grammy nominee and former American Idol alum Danny Gokey with me here at the Homestead studio today. Danny's a great friend. Every time he comes over, we have a great time. So I can't wait for him to talk about his new album, Sound of Heaven. Of course, he's got a big hit out right now called I Got You, and it's one of many songs on this album. And I cannot tell you, Danny Gokey is just one of a kind, and he is just full of just great thoughts and great energy and great motivation today. So let's get right to that interview with my friend Danny Gokey. Hey, welcome back, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. I like coming here.
We love having you. So it's been a while since you were here. I get probably a year. What's been going on over the last year?
Man, a lot. I decided to make another album, and I decided to take a tour off to be with my family, my kids. And now, the time of reckoning's coming. Album coming out. Had time with the kids. I'm about to start working.
So what's harder work, the touring or with the kids?
Oh man, let me tell you this: touring with the kids.
Yeah, touring with it.
we just came back from Colorado Springs doing an event, and I took my kids with me. It was a Focus on the Family event, so I was like, "Hey, this is perfect, right? Take our kids." And man, on Father's Day, this is back on Father's Day. I mean, Father's Day was a stressful day when you're traveling with your kids. I noticed that me and my wife were at each other, at each other's necks, and I'm like, why is it? Oh, we have our kids. And it's funny, I was talking to Benjamin Watson and his wife, how they the football player, and they were I was talking to them behind the stage because they're at the event, and I was like, you guys got the kids? They said, yeah, not this time. We brought them to the Caleb event that I saw him at before. And he said, oh man, we were noticing at the end of that event that we were at each other's necks. And I could just, when they said that, they said every time we bring the kids on a trip, it puts tension on the marriage. And they're reading my mail. I'm like, I didn't even say anything. I was like, yep. Anyways, it's worth it, but it's just, having kids on a trip, all the travel just adds a lot to the.
So how old are they now?
11, 9, 6, and 4.
So you're entering the adventurous stage. I mean, you already have. The 11-year-old is boy?
Yeah, the 11-year-old is a boy, 9-year-old girl, 6-year-old boy, 4-year-old boy. And we're in the piano, jiu-jitsu, soccer, the sports phase where they're getting introduced to all these things. So now it's, thankfully, my wife's parents live with us and they are helping us tremendously. So I had a full day. Today's day of doing an interview with you. They have piano classes right now. So mother-in-law took them.
Good.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So tell me about the album. This is your 5th studio album. What makes it different from the previous 4?
Well, I would say this one is titled Sound of Heaven, but I think it's my best work yet, because I've grown in my artistry. I'm digging in more into writing ever than I have before. Understanding, because I'm a person who has the ability to sing. I can, what did Randy, American Idol, say? You can sing the phone book and make it sound good. You know what I'm saying? So there's this thing that I've had to grow past. It's like, hey, it's not just your voice to carry the song, right? Sometimes there's songs that you need the singer to carry. But then there's songs that you don't need a singer to carry. You could have anyone sing it, but the lyric is so powerful. So this album dug into that. Sound of Heaven. I think Sound of Heaven, when you think of Sound of Heaven, heaven is not just one sound. It has so many, the Bible says every tribe, every tongue, every nation will worship the Lord, right? The Sound of Heaven, my album, represents the different sounds inside of me. I grew up around Latin culture. I grew up, in worship and gospel and pop and all these different influences that made me, I put into this album. And it's, also heaven is a party. Like, I think people get it wrong. They think heaven is this place where you get your harp and you get in the cloud and, dude, they have no idea. Heaven is a party, and it's reflected on the album, and everyone's invited to this party. And heaven is so inclusive, right? It's very inclusive. And so, so some of the sounds represented as gospel, worship, pop, there's some hard truths. I got a song in there called Makeup. It's a song for the culture. It's a hard truth in that song, because when I wrote this song, I heard a preacher talk about how Jezebel put makeup on her last act before she died. And then he expounded on how the enemy, so here's one of the lines is, wake up. I think the devil's trying to play us. He mesmerizes with the makeup. Like Jezebel, her evil acts always cloaked it in makeup. It mesmerizes with the makeup, but it's made up. So open your eyes, stop buying all the lies, because evil is dressing up to fool the people. Got all the saints on pins and needles, because truth's illegal. But I really don't care. I'm a lot more scared if we don't wake up. So like there's a hard truth, but wrapped in like this pop sound. I'm excited about it, man. Sound of Heaven. It's got something for everyone.
I'm going to ask you to turn this way just a little bit. Okay.
This way?
Yeah, just a tad. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
You want to see my whole beautiful face?
Tell me about what inspired. When you get an inspiration for an album, a theme for an album, is it just something you wake up in the middle of the night and that's it, or is there's research involved, or is there one song that inspires the whole thing? How do you come up with the concept?
Yeah, so the title, let's say how we came up with the title. When I wrote the song Sound of Heaven, and it made perfect sense, because I'm writing these songs. I got Spanish songs in there, that are English and Spanish. I don't have any full Spanish, but they're like a mix of English and Spanish, because more than half my life I've been influenced by Latin culture, and Latin culture embodies such a huge South America, Central America, the Caribbean, even part of Europe is, Spanish culture, Spain. Anyways, when I wrote Sound of Heaven, that was the thing that tied it all together, because I'm writing these songs and I'm thinking, how does this fit? This is representative of me, but how do we make this all fit? Because to me, it's not, I wasn't just born in this one city, which is just one way, right? Mm-hmm. So much differences in culture. And when I wrote Sound of Heaven, that was the cohesive part that brought it all together. And I was really thankful to the Lord for that, because I was like, this makes sense. And it makes sense as a picture of heaven, because heaven is it represents so much, and so that was a very key piece. And Sound of Heaven, it's just talking about, it's a fun up-tempo song. I've been listening to the sound of this world. It makes me crazy. It makes me want to, I've been listening to the sound of this world. I can't even remember my own lyrics. It's got me crazy. It makes me want to stay in bed. I've been listening to all my worries and my problems, but I got to stop and count my blessings instead. I woke up, I breathed in, my heart's beating. Every day is a gift. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Can't believe I get to do this life again. I can hear the sound of heaven. So it's saying like there's a sound that this earth is, sorry, I couldn't quote my own lyrics, but it's in there. I promise you. That right there, I think encapsulates, we were trying to capture something supernatural.
How much do you consider yourself, percentage wise, a preacher versus an artist? Because you're unique in that way.
Yeah, I think preaching, the good news is a part of who I am. Now, songs to me are the greatest catalyst to preach your messages. Like, for instance, when I released this past year, my album Brave, a small collection of 3 songs that I wrote about our country, America, right? Right now there's such division in our culture, and it's really hard to win people over. But I noticed music, you can stick a truth, drop a bomb in a song that comes off a little lighter, and people are a little more open to it than it would if I just get on, and I do get on my platform, my social media, and I do speak messages of hope and open up my Bible and share those messages. But I'm learning that music kind of sneaks in there and gets past the brain barrier and goes to the heart. Mm-hmm. So I like the fact, when I go and preach at churches, like I'm preaching at church this Sunday, I love that I get to go and sing a song, because if things ain't going right, let me open up in a song, and people, you can move the crowd in a different direction and open them up more, you know? And so I think it's a good 1-2 punch, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It is. I want to talk a minute about Mandisa.
Oof, yeah.
Okay. I know you all were close. You toured together at one point. Of course, you were both on Idol, and it was such a shock for all of us. Still is, as a matter of fact. And we're just trying to figure out a way to continue to celebrate her life and her legacy over the next few months. And the great thing about her, especially the last time that she was here, she was so open about all of her struggles and everything that she went through. She wasn't afraid to talk about a lot of things, you know, and nor are you. And I just like to just sort of for you to tell me what she meant to you and what impact she had on you.
Mandisa was so impactful in many different areas, but the one I want to focus on is how she was a champion of people. And that's, in this world, right now we are taught to be a champion of ourselves, which I think that's probably where we're getting a lot of the mental health struggles from, correct? You know, because we're so self-focused. You know, recently I heard a podcast where this doctor was saying, one of the reasons why we have problems in our culture, in the epidemic, is that all we do is ruminate on either our problem or are so focused on ourselves that we don't see something bigger than that. And, you know, so I thought that was pretty interesting. But with Mandisa, she didn't follow that path. She followed the path of champion other people's music. So we did one co-headline tour together. They called it the Mango Tour, the Mandisa and Danny Gokey Tour. I was Mango, man, right? Mandisa, go, Gokey. And anyways, but then we did another 6 tours where we were part of a bigger tour together. So we were on the road a lot together. And it was a devastating blow when I found out the news, because, you know, at first I didn't know what happened, right? Was it a mental health struggle? What was it? I think we found the autopsy said it had to do with obesity. I just heard that recently. And it was tragic because she had so much to give. Now, I do know that she kind of retired from music a year or two before she passed away. But here's what I know, like, she ran her race. She never gave up. You know, in the beginning, I was quite scared when I heard that she had passed, because there was, was this self-induced? I was happy to hear the news. It wasn't. I was happy to hear the news that, you know, it was a different struggle, but it wasn't an intentional struggle to, like, you know, we all have our struggles. We all have our battles. And, but she was a champion of people. I want to pull that away and say, one of the best things you can do is get outside yourself and champion people. When we were touring together, she'd be side stage singing my songs. I mean, this is who she was. And I think there's something, she wasn't insecure. She wasn't scared of, if I champion this person's song, will it affect my song? Man, she thought there was room for everybody.
What is it that you struggle with?
I think so I've been clinically diagnosed OCD. I mean, that was a clinical thing. But I think maybe I should say it like this. Not realizing the impact of my choices, right? Not realizing the impact of the power that I carry as a person through the power of choice. You know, I think when we go through situations, for instance, things happen to us that lead us to a place of disappointment, we tend to forget that not making a choice is a choice, right? Shooting the shotgun prayers to the Lord saying, get me out of this. If you just, you know, just deliver me supernaturally, I'll be a happier person. Not realizing there's power in your choice to get you out of that. It might not be supernatural and fast. Like, I think our culture wants quick shift, happen now. Not realizing that 99% of the time, the cumulative of your choices got you to where you are today. You know, it's having the ability to kind of get outside of yourself and say, hey, like, so if you're struggling with depression, for instance, and you're in a really bad place, get outside of yourself and say, hey, have there been moments where I've been happy? Absolutely. Excited about life? Absolutely. You know, objectively looking at yourself as opposed to subjectively putting yourself in a certain position thinking you can't get out. And in that moment saying, you know what, there could have been a lot of years of choices that got here. It was a slow burn, but it got me here. Maybe just make one good choice today, and accumulative of choices. Maybe 6 months from now, 3 months from now, I could be in a way better place if I just, because bad things happen to us, right? Outside of our reach. But I look at someone like Joyce Meyer, who, you know, her testimony, she was molested by her dad. And she says like this, it's a little graphic, but it's true. I was raped by my dad 200 times. She had to make a choice. Was she justified to be bitter and unforgiving? But she made a choice to follow God and to forgive. I mean, her testimony is so powerful. Was it an overnight deliverance? No. Did she have some overnight deliverances of being delivered from smoking cigarettes and different things? Yeah. But making the choice every day got her to where she is today. The power of choice is so important. And God says, I give to you life and death. Choose life that you may live. And he lays it out. Never underestimate the power of the ability to choose when you're going through something.
More with my friend Danny Gokey in 60 seconds. But first this.
Hi, I'm Jackie Dorman. Are you longing to find your soulmate, but you're tired of online dating, singles ministries, blind dates, or even being set up on bad dates by well-meaning family and friends? If none of that's worked for you and you have no idea how to meet marriage-minded men or even truly Christian men who will seek you out for a lasting, committed relationship without the head games, then I invite you to join me in my free Married in 12 Months challenge. Look, there's nothing good or sacred or even noble about sitting in the waiting room. So in this challenge, I'm going to teach you why now is your time to find love. What are the lies that are holding you back? Why God wants you married, the biblical law of attraction, and the tools you need to become a bride. Don't wait any longer. Just sign up for my free Married in 12 Months challenge today at lovestories.com, and you can step into the love story that God has already written about you. That's lovestories.com.
Now let's get back to my interview with Danny Gokey.
What do you hear from folks when you receive emails and letters? First of all, do you get letters anymore?
I don't. Back in American Idol, man, we used to get just loads of them.
Yeah, what's a letter, right? That's a way to get somebody's attention. Send them a letter.
I just got a letter though. I did an event this past weekend, like I was telling you, at the Focus on the Family thing, and this lady just wrote a letter and gave it to someone to give to me who worked there. And she said, I lost my husband through some difficult situation. And she said, my kids got so disappointed that they left their faith. And now she can't even, she's like, I had 4 losses. Haven't had communication with my kids for years because of certain breakdown in the family and the faith part. And she's like, your song, Tell Your Heart to Beat Again, really got me through. Mm. I mean, those letters are so important. I mean, I couldn't imagine, when I read this letter, I was like, my goodness. 4 losses. Loss of your spouse, and then 3 children walk away. I forgot what the reason was, but it was a very specific reason. It just devastated me to hear that. But anyways, what was your question?
Well, my question is, when you get correspondence from folks, what is the number one thing that they're struggling with today?
I think there's a few things. I think some people, people are having a hard time or feeling guilty if they've gone through loss, because my story of loss, people can relate to that, losing my first wife. But some of them never gave themselves the permission to get up and move on. And I had that. When my first wife passed away, I just felt like I didn't live in her honor. It was so wounded by that. And the moment to finally give myself permission, when people hear my songs, Haven't Seen It Yet, Wanted, Hope in Front of Me, Stay Strong, Tell Your Heart to Beat Again, they finally feel like I got the permission to get up and go. Other people, I think with the mental health thing, I think people related to that when I've talked about that. Knowing how to navigate that. And I have songs that I've written in those dark moments, right? Rise, Wanted. I mean, so many, Haven't Seen It Yet, I wrote in those dark moments because I had to navigate it myself. Mm. So I get all that. People who are going to take their life, People written me, I was going to commit suicide. Several people. I was in my car or in the basement and I was ready to do it. And your song came on in the right moment. Saved my life.
Tell me about a time that a song literally saved your life.
Wow. There's been a couple, but I remember this one time when I was dating my first wife. When I was dating my first wife, the Lord had really put on my heart that we need to break up because it was getting unhealthy, the relationship, right? Coming before the Lord. And I remember I did that, and I was so reluctant. Like, the Lord had to deal with me for like a year to let her go. And I remember when I finally did it, I was just like, I just want to obey God. I know He knows what's best for me. We broke it off, and I got in my car and I said, God, you have to speak to me now. I need inspiration because I don't know how I'm going to make it not only through tonight, but tomorrow because my heart's broken. Get in the car, turn on the radio. The song starts right when I turn the radio on. Stephen Curtis Chapman, an old song, Magnificent Obsession. Be my magnificent obsession. And that's what was the catalyst to say, this is what I'm going to focus on this year. Making you my obsession. Not a person, not a thing, not a desire. You.
You'll drink to that.
I'll drink some water to that, I'll tell you that.
The stigma of mental health, that whole issue, it seems the pandemic has changed a lot of things. People are now much more open, talking about things, but it still seems like the church is 5 or 10 years behind. What can we do to encourage folks to make it front and center?
I think there's a few things. So I'm going to kind of try to make this cohesive in thought patterns, but I might jump around. I think the go find yourself, it's overrated, right? But our whole culture went through that. Go find yourself. What is inside of us that is, I'm not trying to say we're not worthy people, we don't have any gifts. Hear what I'm saying. What is inside of you that you can find that'll make you better unless you find Christ in you, right? So Colossians 1, I think it's 1:27, Christ in you, the hope of glory. So inside of us, we're empty, right? It's like a vacuum cleaner not plugged into a wall. It becomes powerful and does its job when you plug a vacuum cleaner in. Otherwise, it just sits there and looks nice, right? Or any appliance. So I think what we need to do is allow Christ in us and let the hope of glory, the hope of overcoming mental health, the hope of overcoming addiction, the Christ in me, the hope of being a good father, a good husband, Christ in me, right? I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless, I live, not I, but Christ in me. And the life I now live, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. So you have that piece right there. I think we need to kind of look, remember I was saying earlier in the interview how, making one choice has power to it. Maybe objectively get up and kind of see where culture has shifted last 20 years. I remember 20 years ago watching TV and things that were quote unquote offensive, like The Office, right? That would never last in this. So you got to look and say, well, man, we kind of live in a very tough culture, which has made it even more difficult for us to express ourselves. Even if we're wrong, there's no room to be wrong because then you're canceled, right? And so then there's this fear of, I don't want to be canceled. I don't want to express myself. But if I do, or let's say, if I express how I feel in the church, they can get me kicked out of the church, or if I kind of side with this. Anyways, I think we need to see that and say, okay, we live in a culture that makes it very difficult to find help and find healing, maybe. I think with the church needs to keep preaching Christ. I think it's the power of the Holy Spirit that changes people. And then even going back to what Jesus said, there might be something in that whole thing called denying yourself, right? There might be something there. Maybe go back to good old fashioned believe in the word of God and it's not by might nor by power, but by the Spirit of God. So I gave a lot of different things there. I think there could be answers for something for everybody, I hope, in that. And I hope to keep getting more insight. But I'll go back to one thing the choice. Choices are powerful. Choices, even when you don't want to make a choice, you're making a choice. Even when it wasn't your fault, you still got to make a choice. You know, and make it to forgive, make it to let go, make it to, we'd be surprised on how much letting go and forgiving can clear you up mental health wise.
When you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders, how do you find that relief? What do you resort to? Where do you go? What do you escape to? Do you go to the beach? What do you do?
Oof, there's a few things. Love playing basketball. I like reading. Man, I've been reading. I think I'm about almost 75 books in this year.
What are you reading?
I think one book that I finished this year was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Love that. I read a book by Brent Hansen, Unoffendable. Reading a book by my friend Brittany Ruby, who's got this chain of restaurants that's just been very successful. Find her mentors, like they're friends of mine. What other book? I'd have to go back. I've read so many. One good book by John Michael. I can't even think about it. John Mark. I can't even think of the title, but it's about lies and the stuff we believe and how it's influencing us, like the lies we believe. Live No More Lies. That's what it's called. Live No More Lies. Man, that book was single-handedly super impactful. How many lies do we not even realize that we believe? And lies, there's no white lies. There's no innocent lies. Lies affect everybody and hurt. There's no white lie and no innocent lie. Every lie steals, kills, destroys. And it traps us. That's a good book, man. I can't think of any other ones, man. If I went through my phone, I could find books. It's beautiful, these books.
So, I've just got to ask because, everybody seems to have it together until they don't.
What a way to put that one. That's good.
And everybody has a dream that I got to ask you, what's your dream and what do you want to be when you finally grow up?
Boy, you sound like my wife. When you finally grow up. Everyone has a dream. My dream is with my ministry, Better Than I Found It. We do these give backs to organizations and ministries. We've given away several cars. We've given away, what we do is we find the good, shine the light, we leave it better. We find ministries that are doing good work. Because people may not know this about me. I had a homeless ministry in Nashville where we took in over 200 homeless families in Nashville. It started with my wife's passing away where we had health benefits to her job. We got an insurance check because apparently there's a death stipend on it. I didn't know about it. And the principal of the school that she worked with gave me a check for $39,000. More money than I'd ever seen. Took that money and began to create a legacy. And then a man in Nashville gave me this is back in 2010. Gave me a hospital for $10 in East Nashville.
I remember. Yeah.
And I rehabilitated, we fixed it up, parts of it, and took in over 200 homeless families off the street for the 3 years we had that. But I could never raise enough money to keep it going. It was so stressful. I had to shut it down. And I sold the building for like $6 million. And I was ready to give it away because I felt guilty that I had this money. I never took a dime from the organization. I didn't get paid a salary. And all this work I put in felt like a failure. My music career was starting to take off. I was like, well, I'm going to just give this money away to a worthy organization. And we had this land over in Antioch, about 60 acres that I purchased because I was going to rebuild the homeless facility. But the prices were coming at $30 million. Like, I'm not going to kill myself to do this again. Maybe it was a mistake that I sold the hospital, but I couldn't balance it. I was new. And anyways, as I'm giving a lot of it away, the Lord pauses me, and then we come up. He's like, take this money and start Better Than I Found It, where we find the good, shine the light, leave it better. We want to make sure ministries don't shut their doors. So we've redone kitchens for homeless centers. We've given away cars for this man had a mobile barber shop, and he has this mobile unit that he wants to take around town. So we bought him a nice truck to do it. So we're doing all these things. So my dream is to take this to a much bigger level. You know what I'd love to do, David? I'd love to charter a private plane with some military, get some intel, and go save some children from trafficking and women and things like that. Sky's the limit. If you can raise enough money to do that. Money has been used in Las Vegas to destroy people's lives. Money's been used in trafficking to destroy people's lives. Why can't we just take money and use it to heal, set free? And people are doing that. I just want to be a part of that. So yeah, this is a TV show idea. We do it anyways, whether we have a TV show or not, but I've been trying to get it out there as a TV show better than I found it. And we release it on our social media and stuff, but that's the big dream. And then that's the big dream.
Well, that's wonderful. That's I don't see why you can't sell that. I mean, if you can't sell that, what can you sell?
Yeah,
right?
what can you sell? That's exactly right. But we live in a drama. People love drama and salaciousness, and this. So we have to figure that piece out.
Yeah, it's called Writers.
Yeah, there you go. Get writers to put a little drama in the show.
Well, thanks for stopping by, my friend.
Thank you.
Good to catch up with you.
You too, dude.
Thanks again, Danny. Thanks for stopping by the homestead. It's always great having you here. Do check out Danny's new album, Sound of Heaven. It's available later this month. And also check out his nonprofit website at betterthanifounded.org. And we really appreciate you. We love you, and you're welcome here anytime. This has been CIA, Contagious Influencers of America, from the producers of Keep the Faith. Do check out our website at contagiousинfluencers.com, where you're going to find 250 episodes or so of our podcast. And of course, our radio show website is at keepthefaith.com, where we've loaded in all kinds of great content for you over there. Great music, great interviews, great podcasts. Check it out at keepthefaith.com. I'm David Sams, and this has been CIA, Contagious Influencers of America, from the producers of Keep the Faith. This week, go out there and live that life in living color, because it sure is a heck of a lot more interesting than living it in black and white. I'll see you next time.